Well, hello, hello. I need a sound check. I'm assuming I'm okay, but
I need a sound check.
well, I guess I am. I'm
I'm
hearing
assuming
myself.
I'm okay, but I need a sound check.
Right, there we go. All right. Nice to see you all. We start a little early um, to get things nailed down and straightened out, make sure we're in good shape, and to tack another 15 minutes or so onto our live stream. So welcome. Nice to have you all. Video, audio, good. Wonderful. Don Floros, good morning. Nice to see you from Sydney. That's Monday morning in Sydney. Larry Henry, let's see. We need to get a few wrenches going here. Michael Farmer. Hello, hello, Michael. Nice to have you with us. Let's see. Maureen Anu Kotila. Kotila. Maureen, I got. Nice to have you here. Let's get you a wrench. Everybody gets to be a monitor here. And nobody's left out. DB. Hello, DB. Glad you arrived as well. Whoops. There we go. Fish Fam Link is here. Hello, Fish Fam Link. Nice to have you with us. Ash is here. Paul Cohen. Hi, Paul. Mermaid's Chorus. Well, welcome, Mermaid's Chorus. Nice to have you here. Carolyn. Mattis Factory. Doom Pie Russ. Good morning, Russ. From Manila. Gracious, we are all over the world today, aren't we? I was talking on Discord with a young man from Japan earlier today. Delighted to have people in from Japan. Ex-lunch lady, give you a wrench. Gary, Rob. Ooh, Erie is here. Hello, Erie. Oh, goodness sakes, wake up. Sabello. Hi, Sabello. Did you give Sabello a wrench? How can we do this? There we go, right there. A bunch of new people here. Derek. Give you a wrench. And Rich Fontaine. Hello, Rich. Now, I'm passing these wrenches out. You don't always get them right away. I don't have any control over that. How do you get rid of BBA? Well, the first thing to do is to decide whether that's really what you want to do. My advice on getting rid of BBA, Preston, is to fall in love with it. Because the minute you begin to really like it, enjoy it, and appreciate it, it'll disappear and you'll never see it again. It's perverse that way. Paulo. Hello, Paulo. Let's see. Oh, dear. Paulo Alfonso. And moderator. Got him. Ooh, excuse me. You've been busy, What's going on here? I've managed to, oh, there we are. Ready now. It's from New Mexico. Ready Now was here before anyone else was here at 5 o'clock or a little before that. Yeah, it's right chill. It was 42 degrees this morning. We're starting to feel the weather. Uh, it was right chill. Ooh, BBA is a function of excess nutrients, specifically nitrates. And the best way to get rid of it is to fight it with more plants, more other kinds of plants. It's an algae, and as such, it is less effective. Now, get this is an important concept. Algae are less effective at absorbing nitrates than are rooted plants or tuber plants, other more advanced plants, plants that flower, for example. So the way to control algae is to increase non-algae type plants because they will outcompete it. They will get the nutrients before the algae. So algae, if they occur in the presence of other plants, it's because there are more nutrients in the water column than the current crop of plants can use. And so there are excess nutrients that are available then to algae. So to control it, you can reduce nitrates, but that is essentially a short-term solution. It's not a long-term solution. In other words, if you do water changes to control nitrates, then in the amount of time it took to get the nitrates built up, they're going to be back again or shorter. So you need to actually deal with the 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 uh, the biology of the system by compensating with desirable characteristics, namely with other kinds of plants. You can people do regular water changes as an alternative to balancing the system. A tank that requires regular water changes is a tank that is not in balance. It is explicitly out of balance. Typically, water changes are done in order to prevent the water from becoming foul or toxic or in some other way stressful for fish. Now that happens only if the tank is not in balance. So creating a balanced natural environment not only avoids the necessity of doing routine water changes, but it creates a dependably healthy environment for all of the animals living in it. Andrew Fenniff had my tank 6 months, only done one smart water change, test it weekly, and it's fine. You mean in 6 months you haven't grown bored with testing? You will, you will. Well, you need to use up all those chemicals, all the reactors that you're using to test the water. Otherwise, they'll sit in the drawer. I've got a box of testing supplies that's probably 10 years it goes back at least 10 years, probably longer. It's just a conglomeration of everything imaginable. I keep it in case I ever want to test for calcium or who knows what. I've got everything in there. Iron. What else can I test for? Nitrates. I don't know. I've got a lot of different test kits. I use pH fairly routinely, especially when I'm bringing new fish in and do not know what the water parameters are of the fish I'm getting. Beer o'clock, says Erie. Father Fish, good people in Beer o'clock. Right. Marky, hi Marky. Empress Irene. Need to give Empress Irene a wrench and see what she's got to say for herself. Suggesting that Betta's, let's see, she's responding to something above that I obviously missed. Sabello is saying, can I have planted tank with the homemade substrate? I said, oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Talio Enrique Deora, watching from Brazil. We now have a supplier of substrate, a fatherfish supplier in Brazil. So no longer is Brazil excluded from the wonders of fatherfish miracle products. Lavin Hart, hello Lavin. Explosion #1. Boy, all these new people. Give every new person a wrench here. You all get to join the club. Ozzy Stacker from Australia. Nice to have you with us, Ozzy. Yeah, I'm looking for someone in Oz who wants to be a supplier of Father Fish products. Harry Pear. Nice to meet you, Harry. Give you a wrench. Hornwort, what's your opinion? It's messy. Yeah, I agree. It's messy, it's coarse. It grows like a weed. You can't beat it. I mean, I sell more hornwort probably than any other plant. It's kind of extraordinary. I finally bought a 10-pound box of hornwort, so I would stop running out. I've got enough hornwort to last a month or more. Let's see. I want to get back to this. Here it is. Back to Empress Irene. I did give you a wrench. Yes. Okay. Suggesting that bettas need larger tanks is not directly comparing them to people. It's about providing appropriate living conditions for the fish. Betta fish, like all animals, have specific requirements for their well-being, such as space, clean water, and proper nutrition. Advocating for a larger tank size is about ensuring their health and happiness, not comparing them to humans. Well, Irene, you're simply wrong about that. You're absolutely right when it comes to issues of nutrition and of a healthy environment. And I must admit that keeping bettas in large tanks allows for a longer period of pollution before the water becomes foul and dangerous to the fish. However, we're not talking about wild fish here. We're not talking about fish that even resemble wild fish. We're talking about fish that are so outlandishly bred as to have finnage that makes it difficult for them to swim. and finnage that is uniquely susceptible to damage. The betta is required to swim to the top of its to the surface of its water, whatever it's in order to be able to breathe. Now, it does have gills and it can use those gills, but it does not do so routinely. It routinely is a labyrinth fish, requiring it to get to the top in order to breathe. I have raised thousands of bettas, not one or two, not 10 or 20, not 100, not 500, more than 1,000. Probably between 2,500 and 3,000. Raised them from babies to adults. The only time I have ever had major problems in raising that volume of bettas is when I tried to do it in large outdoor pools. The difficulty was they had adequate food, the nutrition was good, the health of the pond was good, but the males tore each other apart. You could not keep them together. When I separated them into large containers, well, let me give you an example. I bought a betta, probably one of the most spectacular bettas I have seen at the Clash last month in Pennsylvania. It was a 5-color betta. I've never seen a 5-color betta before. It was a half moon betta with substantially extended finnage. I put it along with some females in a 15-gallon tank. It immediately began darting, jamming itself under rocks, darting around, obviously stressed. I did not remove it. I should have. I left it in the tank. In one day, it was dead. It died because it had so much finnage, it could not swim normally. It had been obviously raised in a very small container, did not have any reference to space, and frankly did not know what to do about space. These are fish that are bred in order to be able to keep them in small controlled environments. Putting them in large environments creates stress on their bodies. Now, the females do not have nearly the problem that males do. And many males are not so heavily developed that they have substantial problems. But there are bettas that do, and that cannot tolerate being in large containers because they cannot manage themselves. They cannot swim adequately to be able to maintain themselves in that environment. That's one aspect of the problem. Another aspect is if you plan to keep 1 or 2 or 3 bettas, then you can probably get away with putting them in a 5 or a 10-gallon tank, or even larger if they have fins that are not so large that they cannot swim adequately. But if you're going to spawn bettas, if you're going to line breed them, if you're going to create anything like a betta operation where you have a substantial number of them, it is inconceivable that you would have 110-gallon tanks or 1,000 10-gallon tanks so that each male betta would be able to be in a 5 or a 10-gallon tank. It simply is not reasonable. It's not practical. And it's not particularly healthy for the fish. These are fish that have been bred for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years in very small containers. That is how they are able to grow out with perfect finnage. It is nearly impossible for a well-developed betta to maintain perfect finnage if it is in a large container. Its fins are far too delicate. It cannot use them to the extent required to be able to manage a large area. They will become frayed simply from being overused. Now, you can make the case that it is not healthy and reasonable to grow bettas such that they cannot sustain themselves in a large body of water. That's fair. What is not fair is for the very people who are making that claim to insist on keeping those kinds of fish. Wild bettas are available. Plaquettes are available. Plaquettes don't have that problem at all. But if you want a betta with large, beautiful, flowing finnage, you better keep it in a small container and keep that container extremely healthy if you want to be able to sustain it in perfect condition. So that's my lecture on that issue. As to the matter of fish not being people, well, they're not. And far too many fish keepers, and I'm not really criticizing here, I'm simply really observing, think of their fish as people, which in most cases perhaps is fine, except that fish don't need to eat every day. They don't need to have 3 meals a day. They do not have the same biological needs as mammals do, nor do they have the brain to be able to experience senses, emotion, any kind of feelings. They simply don't have the equipment to be able to do that, to be able to feel pain. Fish don't feel pain. They just don't. I have seen fish with half their bodies cut off, swimming around perfectly normally. And I'm not talking about fish that had their bodies cut off and healed. I'm talking about fish that with fresh cuts, where half the body is cut off, and they're acting like nothing happened. Now, there is not a mammal on Earth that would act that way if a foot were cut off, or a tail for that matter, much less half their body. Fish do not have the pain receptors that allow them to experience pain. Now, they can feel things, they can feel a parasite burrowing into them. Isn't that curious? Because they will scratch to get rid of it. But if you cut their tail off, not that I'm suggesting you should, I am not suggesting you should. Do not do that. But I have seen it happen in circumstances where it was done accidentally. in fish nets and trawlers and the like. I've seen severely damaged fish bitten by other fish that swam around as though nothing were happening. Fish do not have the brain to be able to remember anything. Fish are not like people. They're just not anything at all like people. They're not like people in any way at all. They're utterly unique. And that is a significant part of the fascination that we have with fish because they are so utterly unique. Now, I'm not getting down on little girls who love their fish and who love to be loved by their fish. I think that's sweet. I think that's delightful. But I know it's utter nonsense. We'll talk about this some more. Let's see what else is going on. Lavin Hart. Lavin, hello, hello. See, I'm having trouble here with, well, I lost. Goodness, I jumped 20 pages down. Now I'm totally lost. All right, let's Ranchois Dorando. Weirdest fish I've ever owned. Really good question. Weirdest fish. Probably actually the Abba Abba, Gymnarchus niloticus, also known as the Nile River fish. It is a cigar-shaped fish with a blunt nose and a tail that comes to a point. Its dorsal fin runs the entire length of the body. It has two little ventral fins. It has no anal fin at all. It is an air breather and it has no eyes. It can swim backwards as fast as it can swim forward. It has a lateral line on it running the length of its body that feels vibrations at such a level that I had one about 2 foot long in a tank sitting on a concrete pad. The minute I stepped onto the pad, it was up looking around. Well, no, not looking, moving around. It was so sensitive to vibration that it could pick up the vibration of me 20 feet away, stepping on concrete. An amazing fish, absolutely amazing fish. They are available. You cannot keep them with anything else, not even their own kind. They're a mad wild fish. If you get them large, you're probably not going to be able to keep them alive. You need to get little ones and grow them out. They only eat live food. You cannot feed them anything other than live food. Remarkable fish, utterly remarkable fish. I do not believe they have been bred in captivity. Could be wrong about that. Any advice on culturing blackworms? Yeah, I have been following some of the blackworm videos lately, trying to get some, trying to discover whether someone has has discovered the secret of raising blackworms in any kind of quantity. And no, I really don't. I can keep them alive pretty much indefinitely. Um, they will do pretty well in a large tank. Some people keep them in gravel They do just as well in sand. They're a very, very common worm. They're actually a worm. They're a segmented worm. They are not any kind of animal that what I'm trying to think. They're not like a micro worm. They're an actual worm, an actual segmented worm. So you can cut them in half, and the half that has the organs will continue to live. They will get big. They'll get 5 inches long, 5 to 6 inches. You can find them in creeks. They are everywhere. They're common. People who have collected and set up resurrection jars have found them in the resurrection jars. They're not uncommon at all, but it is enormously difficult to grow them in any kind of quantity. I don't have the secret for that. And in fact, yeah, finnage, eerie saying is finnage a word. I struggled with this yesterday. I typed FINNAGE and it didn't like it. It's FINNAGE. It is FINNAGE. Finage. FINAGE. I think it's not a word. So don't have any good advice. The farm in Northern California that has been the sole source of blackworms apparently is out of business or has collapsed their breeding operation and not been able to get it back. They went down after the fires 3 years ago and have not been able to recoup since then. But they are breeding them in, or they were breeding them in dirt ponds with water flowing through the ponds. So a lot of movement, a lot of water movement, a lot of mud, and then simply rinsing the mud to create the balls in order to get the volume. I have a friend in Florida who's been trying to do it. He can't get the water flow. It takes a river system or a major creek system in order to have the water flow to be able to do it, I think. Let's see what else. Let's see. David is saying he has a 2.5 gallon for a Betta that works out well. I'm not averse to keeping Bettas in large tanks. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I have Bettas in 29-gallon tanks here. I've got Bettas in a 30-gallon tank here. I have Bettas in a 15-gallon tank. I have Bettas in larger tanks. What I'm saying is that they do not require larger tanks in order to be healthy, in order to be able to cap in a way that's healthy. And in fact, if I were spawning Bettas, which I can't do here because I don't have enough space, I would stock up on quart jars. And I would keep them in quart jars because that's an ideal way to grow out Bettas. Spinach rhymes with spinach. Ah, I don't think so. Finage. Finage would be the pronunciation, I think. And yeah, I think it's not a word. People don't even need 3 meals a day. 12 to 24-hour fasts are good for us. Yeah, that's true. But the point still stands that we treat fish as if they were people to their detriment. It is better to treat fish as fish than to treat them as some kind of adapted human, adapted person. do they have personhood? Not if you define personhood as a human trait. Darling didn't know that. Don't know what you didn't know, but go for it, darling. Dinah, moderator, ta-ta. Elena Manetta, there aren't cats and dogs that don't know the difference between living in cozy, man-made luxury or wild. If it's comfortable, it's comfortable. Right, that's right. And the smaller the space for the betta, the more comfortable it is because the less stressful it is. Here's the thing about fish that's universally true of fish. Fish are born tiny. I'm not talking about whales, baby whales. They're not a fish, they're a mammal. Fish. Fish are born tiny. And they're born in large quantities, sometimes in magnificently large quantities. Why? Because they are a food source for other larger fish and other types of animals. They're a major food source. Baby fish are a food source. That's why they're born in such vast numbers, because there's so many things that feed on them. The fish that is the quickest at darting out of the way and avoiding being eaten is the one that survives. So fish are born darting. You can call it fear. I call it fear. It's certainly not the emotion of fear, but it is a self-protective behavior that allows them to avoid big shadows, big moving things, other things in the vicinity that are moving around. They hide from them. They dart away from them. That's part of what was happening with that betta I put in the tank. Every time I walked near the tank, it would dart and hide. And it was a full-grown betta. Obviously, it had not been around people, not been around persons, not been around anything to be able to develop any kind of comfort level. And I'm using words that are based on emotion. Comfort is an emotional word that would require some extrapolation in order to make it appropriate for an amoeba. Can an amoeba feel comfortable? Well, I believe it can feel uncomfortable if it's in an environment that's too hot, too acidic, or in some other way stressful to it. So yeah, anything that can stress can experience the alternative to that, which would be a comfort level. That's not an emotion, however. They don't have the prefrontal lobe to be able to experience emotion. That's where emotion is. That's where sensory perception is. They don't have that part of the brain, so they can't experience that. So the whole point being that if you want to learn to care for fish, you have to avoid thinking of them as people, because that doesn't benefit them. It doesn't give them the right to be themselves, and doesn't teach you to distinguish your own needs and interests from the needs and interests of the fish. And that kind of gets more at the point. Don't treat your fish as though it's an extension of yourself. It is not. It is explicitly not. It is so unique from you that there is little it experiences that you experience. So it's the ultimate exercise in getting outside yourself getting over yourself, as it were, allowing yourself to to understand as best you are able the needs and interests, the actions, the behaviors, and so forth of a creature so vastly different than yourself that you really have no frame of reference for it. And that's the great difficulty. It's also the great challenge, which is precisely, I believe, why those of us who are fascinated by fish are so fascinated, because we're seeing an animal that is utterly unique in every aspect from us, from anything we know, from anything we experience. We cannot hover in the air. Fish hover in the water. What would that be like to hover in the air? What would it be like to be in an aqueous solution? It's like if you go diving. You can do it diving, but you can't live there, not without a lot of mechanical support you can. And that's just one little thing. What would it be like to have no hands? To have one foot that wiggles? There are humans born disabled with no arms, and there I saw a young girl who had webbed legs, who was able to swim, and she was able to function with support. She nevertheless had a human brain, and she had a voice. She could talk, so she could communicate in ways that fish don't communicate. They don't communicate through sound so much as through motion, through behavior, like sign language. They have a sign language of sorts. How is it that 10,000 fish can be in a school and the entire school swims in total unison all the time, all day long, swimming in complete unison? How do they do that? How do they get so simpatico with each other that they're able to act as one? A multitude of them acting as one creature. They're remarkable animals, utterly remarkable and utterly unique. So when we create an environment for them, to be able to keep them, to be able to sustain them, we need to be as caring as we can about the kind of environment that is natural for them. A natural environment. An utterly synthetic environment, a bare tank, and I have seen so many new hobbyists spend 100, 200, $300 on a remarkable fish like an arowana and put it in a bare tank. This little 6-inch arowana in a 200-gallon tank, and it's going zoom, 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 zoom. It's exhausting itself trying to find a place where it can be protected, where it can hover and not be in danger of being eaten by the first big fish that comes along. You see little tiny fish grow into big fish, but they don't lose their little tiny fish. What's the word? Attitude? I don't know. Behaviors. Now, in point of fact, they do. In point of fact, a big bass, for example, a 20-pound bass that's 30 years old is no longer afraid of anything in its environment because there is nothing in its environment that is a threat to it. It knows that how it's been all over it. And it's been all over it year after year after year in every aspect of that environment. And there ain't nothing there for it to be afraid of except that line coming down with a worm on the end of a hook. And it doesn't have enough sense to know that is a danger. Well, let's move on here a little. Most neons are hardy. I'll tell you the ones that really are hardy are the green neons. They are, I need to get some. I haven't seen them. Just remarkable. Yeah, Ready Now says a little belly bump in the fish is just enough to keep them happy and healthy, swimming around having fun. Yeah, that's about the truth. About the truth. Lotus will probably control the trumpets. I don't know what that's. Yeah, green neons are bomb proof. They are amazing. And they're pretty. Instincts are deep. That's the word, instinct, whatever that means. And it is instinctual. I mean, it's not learned behavior. Baby fish, from the second they're born, are darting out of the way, avoiding trouble. Nate R needs a wrench. Oh, here's a bunch of new folks. FM Aquatics studied animals in captivity. They need enrichment. Fish do not need enrichment. In fact, the less enrichment, the better. What they need is a place to hide. They need cover. They need shelter. They do not need something to play with. That's not to say they won't take advantage of it, because they will occasionally, but they simply don't require it in the way that higher order animals do. How long can I keep a fish tank with the sand and dirt? How you have it without cleaning? Josiris. If you got a lot of plants and you got a deep substrate, you can keep that indefinitely without ever cleaning it. Bobby Jones. Need to get Bobby a wrench. Ozzy Stacker is here. Hello, Ozzy. What is your take on the good old pleco? My favorite fish to keep. Currently have 10 different variations. I really like the L series, particularly the ones that don't get more than about 5 or 6 inches. My problem is the ones that get 3 and 4 feet long. And I've had them that big. I've had them 3 foot. I had a friend once who told me he hooked one in a pond, and it was so big and heavy. He got its head up out of the water, and its head was 2 feet wide. I have a bit of a hard time believing that, sort of. I know they become monstrous. And they are the most commonly sold fish in the hobby, with a possible exception to guppies, but certainly the most commonly sold cleaner in big box stores because they're cheap, they're easy to keep, and they will outgrow your tank in a year or less. They're just dreadful. But the smaller ones, I've got I've got a pair of I got at the Clash, and I think they're phantoms. They were spotted, a green spotted pleco. I didn't get the L series. I need to look them up. They stay under the rocks. I see them. I've seen them both twice in the month I've had them. And one of them comes out fairly routinely in the mornings. But they're obviously feeding on the bottom, and I have a lot of rock in there, and they tend to stay hidden among the rock. But I love them. I think they're wonderful. I just don't. I'm not crazy about the big ones. Silver Creek is here. Hello, Silver Creek. Answering Josiris's question. Thank you. Eerie. Terrible, terrible, terrible. The world tongue twister champion has been arrested. Police said he's going to get a very, very, very long sentence. Right. Funny stuff here. Funny stuff. Stallion fish keeping gardening. 7-foot tank had tiled bottom because it was keeping koi. But now I'm doing tropicals in the next few weeks. So out go the tiles. In comes deep substrate with inch or two of sand. You want double the sand to the depth of the soil. If you have 2 inches of soil, you need 4 inches of sand because that soil is going to rise up to the level of its initial depth. So you want more sand than soil. Make sure you do that or you'll be putting it in later. Rose Hurtado. Aloha, Rose. Happy to see you. Oh. And you, me, Silver Creek. It is, I think ultimately the only reason I've stuck with this thing, this YouTube thing, is because it is a joy. It has been a joy from day one. It remains a joy. Being able to share the joy of keeping fish with the joy of sharing it with others who are keeping fish. It multiplies the joy by square. It squares the joy. Joy squared is what? Hysteria, some would say. I don't know. Great joy. Psycho Plant Lady, Abadoo. Saying hello to Abadoo. Yeah, butterfly landing. Has anyone added roticulture to their deep substrate? Do they live and colonize or not? It depends. Rotifer. Not likely. If you have any number of small fish, almost the smallest number, they will hunt them to extinction. The alternative, the solution, I should say, is to have a very deep food web of leaf culture. It, 1 inch minimum, 2 inches would be better. If you can maintain a deep leaf culture, then you can keep macrofauna as a steady population in a community tank or a tank with any significant number of small fish that would otherwise eat them. Barring that, they can't escape predation. Joy is God's greatest creation. I dare say Silver Creek. I dare say. Thank you, Nate. Appreciate it. Joy, joy, joy down in his heart. Joy, joy, joy down in his heart. That's great old Sunday school song. Silver Creek Aquatics. Have a Reek 124 by 2 by 2 that's empty, a 20-gallon cube, switching to native species. So much has changed. Wow. Well, here in Texas, there are a lot of pretty exciting native species, particularly if you can get down into brackish water. It's just amazing what's available, and you're close to Louisiana as well, so you can also collect from there. There are scads of pupfish all over the place. The 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 the, the the native fish, North American native fish, are among the most interesting, beautiful, easily kept fish. I've got half a dozen in my tanks that are both brought back from Florida, and some I've caught since I've been here. They're stunning, just stunningly colorful fish. I don't know if we can get a look. I got so much duckweed in this thing, I can't hardly see in it. I gotta get into it. I'm gonna pull the duckweed out, and I'm gonna pull most of the Vallisneria out because I've got lots of other plants, and I want to get more other kinds of plants. Val just has a way of taking over, so I think I'm gonna do away with it and get more Aponogetans, and more Anubias, um, more other kinds of plants in there. But I had some, some fundulus, golden top mint in here that are spectacularly beautiful fish. Once I get all that out, I'll show them off. They're really beginning to color up. As they get bigger, they get more colorful. I've seen them 5 inches. Mine are now almost 2 inches, and really beginning to look good. Got flies. Got you. Gotta feed them to my fish. Gareth Robinson set up a 40-gallon aquarium 2 weeks ago with white sand plants and manzanita. It's white, cloudy still. Any suggestions? Overfeeding, haven't fertilized it. It's cloudy because of the white sand, the particulate matter in the white sand. If you put a sponge filter in there, that should take up the bulk of it. You may need to. It's a 40-gallon. You may need to put 2 in. Just try to filter it out with sponge, a fine mesh sponge filter, not a coarse mesh. That should clear it up in a matter of a few days. Butterfly landing. Ready now. Question. Deep substrate. Dirt on the bottom at sand, pretty heavily planted. A line of either green or blue algae along the sand line, about quarter to half-inch down. Should I worry or do something? Perfectly normal. It's I, to the best of my understanding, it's on it's on the glass. It's not. You don't have algae growing under the sand. There are strata. Dirt and other material will stratify, and you can see that strata sometimes under the sand. If it's algae, it's not strata, but the algae is feeding on a strata. So it's green at the glass, but the strata goes down, goes across, probably substantially across in the tank. It's just a perfectly normal thing to happen in any kind of deep substrate system. Nothing to worry about at all. Rose is asking about her goldfish. So I need to go back now and find Rose. Oh dear, and I'm 20 back and still going strong. Here we go. I have a big goldfish. Did I give you a wrench? I thought I did. Big goldfish with big fantails. Her body is maybe silver dollar size. Should I transfer her to a man-made pond? Currently in a 20-gallon. She will do better. Goldfish do much better in outdoor ponds. They also prefer the change in temperature. They're a cold water fish, so they can tolerate water that freezes. Not solid, but that gets a shell of ice on it. They also will feed better in an outdoor pond because they're a bottom feeder. So they're taking in detritus all the time. They're feeding on waste all the time. That's their natural food. Kind of funny. I've had people get very upset with me about saying that fish eat other fish's poop. Well, that's all goldfish eat. There's nothing else they'll eat. I mean, you can give them canned food and they'll eat it, but there's no canned food in a pond. They feed on the mud on the bottom. That's where they get their nutrition. They are a carp. They are a bottom feeding, mud eating carp. That's what they are. That's how they survive. It's kind of funny. That's the anthropomorphism. That's, oh, yuck. How can you say fish eat poop? Oh, yuck. Fish aren't people. They're just not. They don't act like people. They don't think like people. They don't do like people. They ain't people. So get over thinking about your fish as a person. It's not a person. It's a creature. A creature that has nothing whatsoever in this world to do with you. Nothing. Can't relate to you on any level at all other than to be afraid of you or to know there's food coming if you walk in the room. Whatever. Yeah, that is a wonderful piece of stained glass. That was made for me by some people who helped me build out my shop in Venice, Florida. They're magnificent glass workers. Harco, Haltom City, Texas. Who's he talking about? Don't know. Coral Aquarium Reef says I barely see my cories. Yeah, there are a lot of fish that in a well-developed tank, a well-planted tank, you'll see only rarely. Coolie loach is a good case in point. I mean, there are fish I forgot I had that just I never saw. Never. Raphael catfish, a perfect example. You got to go with a flashlight at night to see them. Darius Majewski, snail just jumped off the glass. It leapt, as only snails can do. I've got more eggs in here. We're gonna have this tank is gonna be loaded with mystery snails. Napoleon is here. Hello, Napoleon. FM Aquascapes. Enrichment does not necessarily mean something to play with. That's a common misconception. It means something that will stimulate natural behavior. Absolutely in agreement with you, FM. You're absolutely right about that. That's what having plants is all about for fish, or having some kind of hardscape, or even substrate. All of that provides a natural environment that fish can relate to. It's what I was talking about earlier with the with the 6-inch arowana and a 200-gallon bare tank. That fish will probably die in a matter of a week or so. It'll kill itself because it will not be able to stop running. It's just running and running and running and running, trying to find a place to hide. And it's got no place to hide. It just goes and goes and goes and goes until it drops dead from going. It's not, it just makes me, and the people, I was watching a video not long ago of a guy so excited about his new fish. And he didn't have this one, he had 3 or 4 really nice fish in really big tanks with that were utterly bare except for the fish. He didn't even have a filter in there. He had canisters with water jetting in. I mean, the most horrible environment imaginable for a fish. They're not pelagic creatures. Now, if it were a shark or a whale, I could see it if it were in a 1,000,000-gallon tank or bigger, because they're used to swimming in open water. They're not looking for any kind of cover. But these little guys that we get, they have to have cover. And FM is absolutely right about this. Thank you for clarifying. I was kind of going off on the wrong end there. You're absolutely right, and it's really what the natural aquarium is all about, is creating what he's referring to as enrichment, as an enriched environment that the fish will be able to function normally in. Thank you, FM, for nailing me on that. By providing environmental enrichment, the arowana fish you speak of would be able to display natural behaviors. Absolutely right. Absolutely. Talking dog, free to good home. Erie is still goofing off. Um, Coral Aquatic Reef. Hello there, Coral Aquatic Reef. Carlos. Hola, Padre Pez. My 10-gallon tank leaked the other day. Your aquarium behind you is 14 years old. How do you keep it from leaking? How often do you reseal it? Do you reseal? Actually, I've had it set up. It has been set up. I've had it for more than 15 years. It's 22 years old. Probably had it closer to 20 years. It's just never leaked. I keep it stable. I keep it full. Got a lot of weight in it. That's 6 inches of sand in there. 6 inches of substrate. It only needs 2. But I really don't want to tear it down. I really don't. But I should. If it were a 55, it would be a lot nicer, probably. It's almost half full of sand. I've taken sand out of it. I took about an inch out or 2. It was almost half full. So I've dropped it down some. But to do that, I've got to take everything out of it, all the plants, everything. I don't know. I might get into it. I'm going to pull out all of the valve. And there's not a whole lot in there other than that. So I may wind up dropping the sand level down another inch. Even an inch would be good. Tank's healthy though. Now here's the thing that's interesting. The fish in here, I've noticed fish that I put in a few months ago are moving around much more slowly than they were when I first put them in. Initially, they were darting. Now they're not doing that. There is so much cover that they don't need to dart around to be in a protected environment. They're swimming more slowly than than they were heretofore. And I've never really noticed that before. And I've got fish in here like rainbows and the golden top minnows that tend to be fast with. They tend to be fish in an open tank that'll just do this all the time, be on the move all the time. These are rainbows. They're actually staying pretty much in one place. Look at this. That one's not moving. That's a rainbow. They're staying right in this area, not moving around much at all. Unique behavior. I just find it fascinating that in an, but you know, again, it takes me back to my childhood living on Cox Creek on the Chesapeake Bay, living the summers, spending the summers there. I would go out and lie on my grandfather's sailboat, which was tied to a buoy about 100 feet out from shore. I'd lay on that boat and look straight down, and it was just a vast bed of grass, vast bed of plants. And I would watch the fish as they would swim around in that grass or swim through it. They would even have avenues they would go through. Not in any big hurry, not darting around, just slowly swimming, kind of ambling around, the way these fish are doing. Somebody said, your fish are not healthy. They're not swimming around. And I knew exactly what they meant by that because in a much less planted tank, fish are going to be a whole lot more active. They're not that active here because they do not need to be. It's a much more protected, secure environment. They're secure wherever they are. They're not darting from place to place. I've seen it when I'm out collecting. If I go from a patch of plants here to a patch of plants here, I'll see occasionally a fish darting as fast as it can out of this patch of plants, zing into the next one. Not slowing down at all, just zoom straight across. So I think the secret, Carlos, is for the tank to be perfectly level. That's critical. I use thin sheets of styrofoam to achieve that. I've had this tank on this stand for years, and so I trust it. Also, to prevent the tank from buckling. So a metal tank, in that sense, is probably better than a wooden tank because a wooden tank can buckle. If they get wet, they will. So that's a major issue. If the stand gets wet, there's a good chance it's gonna buckle or warp, which will stress the tank. Basically, if you have the four corners of the tank in a stable, level position, the tank will not break. It'll be stable. Now, it may eventually begin to leak because the in a deeper tank particularly, the pressure is relentless, and it can push and push and push and push until after 10 or 20 years of pushing, it manages to create a channel through that silicone to the other side of the silicone and onto the floor. Oh, we haven't moved down in a while here. Do you have to feed that? Yeah, I do, Twisted Star. I do feed the tank. I don't have a lot of, I mean, I probably got more than I think I do. I've got over 100 fish in there, so I put a pinch of food in every day, sometimes twice a day. Which probably on balance is not a good thing to do. I'm probably overfeeding. Twisted Star has a 25. Oh, that's ready now. Has a 25. 75 waiting. Need to put that together. It's a great tank. I have a 30-gallon cube that I brought down from my brother's storage. I'm going to set it up on my bureau in here this week. Got water in it. I've decided to get a breeding pair of discus. So I'm going to be calling super cichlids this week once I get that tank set up and get a 4-inch. I want to get a 4-inch pair, 4-inch pair breeding discus, and see if I can spawn discus in a natural environment. I've kept discus in that tank, and they do well in it. So I'm looking to do it in a way that'll allow me to get them spawning. So I'm gonna buy a breeding pair, or at least a matched pair. Gray looking algae that grows on new driftwood. It's not algae. It's either fungus or it's bacteria. And it could be either one. It's more normally fungus. It's nutritional. Either way, it's nutritional. The fish will eat it. It's not anything that's at all problematic. Aussie Stacker, the joy of keeping fish is unbelievable. It's great to meet another fish keeper in person, watch them light up when you start talking with them about it. Absolutely right. DB, thanks for the inspiration and knowledge. Maureen's Menagerie. He's got the joy. We did that, didn't we? Let me move down here a bit. Perush time. Hello. Need to get you a wrench, Perush. Robin Beasley. Still too hot to breathe in Arizona. Oh dear. Marmite Man Rumble. Transfer lively chats on the cassette. Downloader definitely. Anti-downloads. I don't know what that refers to. We're trying to get a blog going and trying to use old stuff, and can't do it on YouTube, so we're going to have to get to another platform. Idiosyncrasy from Scotland. Happy to see you. Pratselva from India. Hello, Pratt's Althea. More wrenches going out. Oh, Deb is acclimating by adding small amounts of water. Uh, True acclimation would require doing that for days, but it's certainly helpful. It's not in any way a harmful thing to do. It's a helpful thing to do. Farrier maiden, farrier maiden sounds horsey to me. Explosion number one wants to talk piranhas. Ooh, piranhas. I have had piranhas. In fact, I donated the very first colony of piranhas. They were red bellies to the National Aquarium. That was in 78. Is that right? Yeah, about 70, 78 or earlier. I lose track of time. That would be 45 years ago. I doubt they're still alive. I know I did see them after about 10, 12 years, and they were pretty big. They were like that. I'm sure they've been replaced more than once. Psychoplant Letty wants a piranha. If you're going to get one piranha, get a black piranha or a silver piranha. Don't get a red belly. The red belly is a schooling fish, and it just won't be happy. But the black piranhas, those are loners, and they'll do real well. I had a black 12 inches once. Somebody stole it. Would you believe? I had it in my church collection. I had tanks in the church. Somebody broke into the church and stole the fish out of the tank. Can you imagine? I checked with the local pet shops and they never saw it. So I don't know what happened to the poor thing. Stole a piranha out of a fish tank. When do you know it's okay to remove the filter? When you try it a little bit and it's okay, and you go back and it's okay, and you turn it off and it's okay. It's just kind of trial and error. There's no hard there's no hard rule. It's a matter of the balance of the system. I like to keep them going, particularly in a tank like this, because it provides some current. All these plants are preventing very much current, but with the aeration, it helps with current, it helps keep dead spots from developing. So it seems to help. The fish are not up at the top gasping, which they might otherwise be without that, because it is so heavily planted. In the morning, red bellies are illegal. If they're probably not, if it's illegal, they're all going to be illegal. Silver dollars are not probably done. They're every bit as nasty. Oh, nice. Outdoor splash question from Noel. Had a group of Nitropolis chrosomus I got 2.5 years ago. Seems they haven't bred, and want a couple left. Ideas for outdoor fish that'll sustain their population. Well, I'm assuming you're in a fairly warm climate. The obvious ones would be, oh, I'll tell you what you can do that would be worth doing. Rainbows. Rainbows will work perfectly well. You need a lot of plants because they're going to lay their eggs in the plants and the babies are going to feed in the plants. Babies take a year to get to any kind of size, but it's a perfect environment for rainbows. They depend on natural foods. They like larger bodies of water. They're more streamlined fish. they're very showy. They'll show well in an outdoor pond because they'll flash. I would do rainbows. Oh, only a couple left, says no. Yeah, Natroplis aren't going to do well in that kind of environment. They need to be in a much more secure environment. It's Natroplis are wonderful fish. I have been trying to get some for years and have not been able to find them. Just can't get them anywhere. But would love to. I need to be on the lookout again. Natroplis nematopus is the one I really like. Best filter media. Oh, sand. Sand is the best filter media. Oh, don't you know it, Marines? Well, 99% of the fish, 99% of all fish will be uh, blacklisted, will be illegal to import. The law as it's written, which has not been passed into law yet, but is threatened to be, permits 100 species of all imported animals, not just fish, reptiles, insects, birds, any animal that potentially, theoretically, could become an invasive species. Theoretically, not even practically. I mean, the law is so badly written that it is an obscenity. It is a complete obscenity and will create such a furor among hobbyists, animal hobbyists across this nation that I don't think it'll last a week if it's passed. It will be a disaster. It'll be a disaster primarily because it will destroy the populations of fish that exist only in captivity because their environments have been destroyed in the wild, much less those wild environments that are being protected because there are sustainable harvests of fish and other animals coming off of them in order to be able to meet market need. All of that will be gone. All of the biotopes will turn into gold mines, silver mines, logging, and farming. It'll all be gone. And it'll be gone in a matter of 1 year. In 1 year, tens of thousands of species of animals will become extinct because of this law. If it is passed, it will destroy the living environment on Earth. It is that evil, fundamentally evil, with evil intent behind it. What's worse, certainly no intelligence, none whatsoever. The percentage of animals that are capable of creating sustainable populations in a foreign environment is less than 1/1000th of 1% of the 30,000 animals that are traded in the state of Florida annually, less than a dozen have established populations. And every single one of those have those established populations because the state created the environment to make it happen. They deliberately release them in a vast array of environments in order to create a sustainable population. It simply does not happen easily. You cannot find a population of wild guppies in the United States. Doesn't exist. In addition to thousands and thousands of other animals, they cannot sustain themselves. Their needs are too specific. The predation is too severe. Nonsense. Utter nonsense. The cohabitants neon tetra and neocaridinus. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, the neons are going to go after the baby shrimp. So you need to have a food web, at least a 1-inch food web in that tank in order for the baby shrimp to be able to be far enough down in there to not be instantly visible to every fish in the tank. But if you will do that, yeah, not a problem. You can maintain neocaridina and virtually any other fish, but certainly other little fish like neons. Absolutely. You've been my fish guy forever. Thank you, says Meg Mulholland. Meg needs a wrench. Thank you, Meg. Sago Plant Lady, what keeping guppies? When keeping guppies, do you need to be concerned about the genetic diversity of the guppy? All my fry were born from the same mother. By generation 5, yes. If you have uh, male to female from 2 different strains, you can breed them straight line for 5 generations. By the 6th generation, you'll start getting some feedback, some negative feedback. You'll start seeing some um, some morphs. Now, they may be desirable morphs. They may be things you really like, but they may also begin to produce weakness. Typically, the high volume guppy breeders who are producing high quality guppies will bring a new fish into the strain or a new population of fish into the strain about every 5 years, which means the strain changes. So you rarely see a strain of guppies that will be identical for more than a few years. Once they get past that 5 year period, it's gonna begin changing because there will be new genetics introduced, or it will begin to fail. The exception to that is the half black red. The half black red is identical if it's the one, if you have a strain that has the iridescent blue dorsal, is identical to the fish I was raising when I was in my mid 20s in college in Boston. That's 65, 35, 57, 57 years. For 58 years, 60 years to round it off, that fish has remained in the hobby, virtually identical, virtually unchanged. That's remarkable. Um, it really doesn't happen. Paradise fish at your right white shark. I'm not surprised, dearie. Not surprised at all. I'll tell you what, the gambusi, also called a mosquito fish, gambusia. It's common to much of south of the southern part of the United States, up kind of all the way up into Kentucky. Certainly into Maryland. I found them here in Maryland. I don't know how far west they go, probably all the way. It's a very common small live bearer. They have no color on them. Occasionally, you will find a male that'll have black mottling on it. Never a female. They are the male gets maybe less than an inch, female almost 2 inches. They're a live bear. They bear one baby a day when they're in breeding. When they're breeding, they'll bear one baby a day. They're the nastiest little fish in the world. I've seen them kill foot-long bass, big fish. They nibble them to death. They're little piranhas. You want piranhas? Gambusia. Typically sold as a mosquito fish. They eat mosquito larvae, as does everything else. They also are pretty easy to keep alive. They'll live in a troubled environment. They'll live in freezing water. I mean, they'll live in a wide range of environments. A fish that is better, we've got a bunch of them in here. There's one right there, is the Formosa. I don't know if we can see it. Let me try this. Cool. Just saw one. There he is back there. Yep, so I saw another. They tend to hang toward the front here. Now they're all hiding. These are the rainbows. The yeah, he was right here and then he disappeared. And I figures there'd be only one. Oh well. There he goes. That was one. You just saw it. That's not. That's one. Right there. That's a female Formosa. She's less than an inch long. The males are half her size. Half an inch or less. Very gentle, sweet little fish. Never bother anything. Great mosquito fish. What else is in here? Rainbow. Apisto. See how peaceful these guys are? It's a male. They've been acting like they want to spawn. There's a female Apisto. I've not seen babies in here, which surprises me. It's a female. So anyway, got to work on this tank this week. Yes, Monster Fish Ghost. Nice to meet you too. By the way, I've been wanting to get hold of you. Can you send me um an email? I need to call you. I have an idea to do a meet and greet in Baltimore, a father fish meet and greet. And I thought I would like to get you involved in that. If you're interested at all, try to get your phone number to me so I can give you a call. I can leave mine. I'll do it right now. In fact, I don't. My number is published. Whoops, it's published on my YouTube channel, so it's out there. Give me a call and let's see. Make sure not to wear the wrong colors. Daya, tuning in from Canada. We got a bunch of new people here. Need to get some wrenches going. RC Savage. Amateur player. I tell you, I'm not a fan of duckweed. I'm really not. This tank has gotten overloaded with it. I did get rid of it in 2 tanks. I cleaned it up and cleaned. In fact, I think 3. No, 2. Cleaned it up and cleaned it up, and it finally disappeared. Got it down to a level where what was left could be eaten. Big house. Hello, big house. Uh, Pothos is fine. The only issue with pothos is the root system can become so dominant that it controls the entire environment. It can really, the root system of the pothos can take over the tank. Takes a while for that to happen, but I've had it happen. Great to feed goldfish. Yeah, I was thinking about getting a couple of goldfish and putting them in this tank, but I don't think they'd survive in it. To get rid of the duckweed, I need to get rid of it. Need to just keep working on it. Uh, I'm yawning. Am I yawning? Am I? I'm sorry. Had a cold. My yawning is making you isn't helping your sleepiness. Says Coral's craft lady. Yeah, I'll tell you when Pothos takes off, woof, it takes off. It's amazing. I had it in my shop, and it took about a year, but it got to the point where it was going to take over the entire building. It was amazing. Yes, you certainly can add it to your tank, Eric. Let's get you a wrench. And let's. Shaman is yawning with me. I need to take a break. I'm sorry. I try to avoid this. I didn't think ahead. Give me about 1 minute and I'll be right back. Oh, all right. Recently joined the Discord. Thank you for the knowledge. Having great success. Marcus Matus or Mattis. Marcus. Need to give you a wrench, Marcus. Yes, if you have not been over to Discord yet, to the shoal, you need to jump in there. It's a remarkable place with remarkable things happening. Jonah's Aquarium has what, Stan? Nitropolis? Oh, Goody Eyes. Goody Eyes? Uh, Silver Creek has bluefins. I got a tank full of bluefins. I think they've been spawning in there. It's amazing. Probable Cause Claws YouTube. Father Fish. Great stream today. I always wondered why fish are so different from people to the point where I was always looking for similarities. No more of that. Fish are a major food source. Ain't that the truth? Peacock feathers. Let's need to get you a wrench and see what you got to say for yourself. Know what law was he talking about that was going to cause import trouble? It is a law proposed by, currently it has 20 co-sponsors in the Senate. It is an amendment to the Lacey Act that provides 5 years imprisonment or $50,000 fine for single violations of the law, which means literally carrying one, name your poison. What would not be hatchet fish? They're not going to include hatchet fish. They're such a danger to the environment. You see, carrying one hatchet fish across a state line, any state line, will land you in jail for 5 years with a $50,000 fine. That's the law. Those are the lawful penalties. The purpose of this is to create what's called a white list. So rather than create a list of those animals that are potentially problematic, they create a list of those animals that are deemed to be not in any way a problem. Except, of course, that's not the way the law is written. The way they've written it is that the top 100 most marketed species will be approved. Everything else will not. Now, that doesn't mean 100 tropical fish, because that number gets divided up between the insect keepers, the reptile keepers, the bird keepers, the small animal keepers, mice, rats, all that sort of stuff. All of those are included in this. It's not just fish. It's fish, it's reptiles, it's insects, it's birds, it's any animal considered to be a wild native animal whether it's been bred in captivity for 1,000 years or not. So koi will be included in this unless they happen to get on the lists of the top 100. The top 100 animals will be permitted. Everything else will be a violation of federal law to either import or 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 carry across state lines. You can keep what you have so far, but you cannot sell it or give it to a friend if they live in another state. This is worse than draconian. It is sheer, pure malice. It is government demonized, made so vile and so disreputable as to be held in utter contempt by the most decent among us. That's how bad it is. Only it's worse than that because it will destroy biodiversity on the earth and will eventuate in a breakdown of the nature system itself. It's that bad. Psycho plant lady, yes indeed. Who made that law? Well, there were two senators started it, one from Hawaii and one from Florida. The one from Hawaii is a Democrat. The Oi. All right. Aquaville. That's interesting. A phone app called AquaBuild DR. AquaBuilder. Lets you set up tanks and fish virtually. Oh, isn't that interesting? Right, I'm back. Pascal Aquariums Naturel. Nice to see you, Pascal. Will pothos help filter the water cloudiness? Probably not, Gareth. Probably not. You need a sponge filter for that. That's really the best way to do that. Yeah, Gary Stein. End of what? All right. We have the book. We know how it ends. Till then, we're in hell. Amen to that, Maureen. Right. 2 dislikes from the senators. Right. Rubio is one of them. Little Rubio, the little prince. His staff convinced him that if he put this bill up, he could become president. That's how deluded and immature the man is. He has no conception at all. Not at all. A wonder shell for guppies and snow in salt water. Anything that'll add carbonates. It's calcium. Add calcium. There are a lot of ways to add calcium. Uh, Mr. Octopus says my fish aren't people, but they have a name. Batch 1, batch 2. Funny, funny. Deborah, it should, is that right? Let me look. No, I'm there. I'm there. You may need to sign in again or something. Yeah, refresh, Deborah. White hairy fungus. Yeah, it is harmless. It will go away. The fish will eat it. It's nutritional. Butterfly landing, refresh, and father fish magically reappears. Deborah says, "Oh, okay, father fish is back." All right, fish prohibition. Amen to that. A lot of things are marketing tricks explosion. Amazing how much of that there is. Amateur player, my 2 9-inch common goldfish have the filtration set up. One fly 207, one fly 407, and a 40G breeder. But I'll check out pothos. Doing constant water changes. Oh, the 5th of November. 5th of November. What is the 5th of November? Yeah, Rubio is sort of a Republican, Little Rubio. Trump called him Little Rubio. He's a twit. One tree can make a million matches, but one match can burn a million trees. Dark web fish. Yeah, that's about right, Gary. That's what it would come to. There's somebody gifting memberships. Why have I gifted 5 Fatherfish memberships? Bravo, YFI. How nice of you. Very, very nice. Cams Aquatics. Best small food to feed the fry. Microworms. If you can get some paramecium culture going, that'll be good too. Silver Creek, Thorn Trap, Gareth, Monster Fish Gal, and Flamingo Hurricane. Bravo. Very nice Wi-Fi. Avia, hello. Recently found your awesome channel. Wondering if you can ask a question. By all means, I'm here for questions. I am the answer man. What's your question, Avia? Recently G. Try again. Comes Aquatics. What should I feed these micro kind of fish things? I got it on their farm. You can put a few grains of yeast in this tiny amount. Put a leaf in, like maple leaf, that breaks down quickly. Or if you've got other malmy stuff, you can put that in. What I would do is get it going in a tray, like a refrigerator drawer, some kind of larger tray. You'll get more, and if you're going to use it to feed your babies, you're going to need a larger volume than you can get with the jar. Amateur player saying, what in your opinion would be the ideal setup for these 9-inch goldfish that won't be in a pond? I guess that's my main question. Hope I'm not doing things wrong. You know what I would do? Buy the largest tote, at least a 20-gallon tote. You can get 40-gallon totes for $10 or 20-gallon. Bigger than that for $10. Best Buy's got them for $9. Um, get the biggest one you can afford. Tractor Supply sells them. It's an ideal environment for a goldfish because they don't need to be in a glass tank. The enjoyment of goldfish is looking down on them, not looking at them through a tank. And they'll do much better in a larger volume. So get the biggest. Go to Tractor Supply and see what they have that you can afford or that you have a place for. You probably get one 2 or 3 feet in diameter, like about a kiddie pool size. You could do a kiddie pool, but they're kind of shallow, and the fish could jump out. You don't want that to happen. Master Black got to edit a video so you can get paid tomorrow. Good job. Good job. A kid's tiny pool. It's okay, but they could jump out of it. Something you want something about 2 foot tall, and you want to keep the water level down 6 inches, or cover it with a screen. Erie's leaving us. Guess he had all the fun he can have. Good night, Erie. Oh, I am yawning. You're right. I got root tablets for plants, but they started to turn brown soon after. Water's been the same. Could it be the tablets themselves? Probably is. Any kind of fertilizer messes up the biology of the plant. It puts specific nutrients into the plant, whether they need them at that point in time or not. And it causes the natural organic activity of the plant to be shut down. So the fertilizers are simply not good for plants. You can get growth with them, but that's all you'll get is growth. You won't get health. You won't get the benefits of a tank of a plant growing naturally. You won't even get the benefits of the plant working cooperatively with the bacteria in the soil to generate the nutrients that it needs, because the organic activity of the plant will be shut down by the chemicals in the fertilizer, and it won't be able to create the hormones that it needs in order to be able to trigger bacteria to produce the nutrients it needs. So it's for use in sterile soils where there's inadequate living material, which should not be something that plants should be planted in anyway. So there's that. Snake Plissken is here. Hey, Snake. Nice to see you. Talking about the importance of leaf litter. Absolutely. Leaf litter is the fundamental nutrient in freshwater environments all over the earth. Without leaves, we would not have 90% of the life that we now have in our freshwater environments. Optimal size are 5 swords, 2 males and 3 females, up to 2.5 to 3 inches, about like that. That's optimal size. 5, 10 fish, 10 swords. Swords are jumpers, so you want to cover the tank. You could keep them into 10, a 20 be better. Spinster Sister did a $10 super chat. We need to pump that up. There we go. Thank you, Spinster Sister. I read your question, didn't even notice the donation. Thank you for that. It's very kind of you. Leaf litter is gold, says Psychoplant Lady. You bet. Did I mean tank size? No, I meant sword size. It was kind of a tease, but I knew what they meant. It was just asked in a funny way, and I thought it funny to give back what they gave out. Jenny, nice to have you with us. Can't wait till the leaves fall. Yeah, we're collecting now. We collected a big bag of maple leaves, and we've got ash and poplar and oak. We're gonna have no pine this year. We got to get about 10 bags though to last through the year. DB purchased food from Father Fish because I stopped feeding flakes. Granules are so fine, I feel the fish won't find them. I've been feeding every 3 days. Set up my tank with plant dirt this past Monday. Oh, they'll find it. They have very tiny eyes. They're able to see things you can't see. And certainly see things I can't even see them hardly, much less what they can see. Snake use all dead leaves, every variety, from my houseplants to Michigan natives. Black oak, brown. Black oak break down pretty slow. Yes, they do. Maple are fast. Any of the nuts are slow. Oak are slow. Ash are pretty quick. Ready now lives in the desert. Not many leaves that I can put in the tanks. About to try putting pothos dead leaves in. Oh boy, that's a problem. You only want to use plants that have dried on the plant and dropped off. If you pluck leaves and let them dry, they are going to contain all of the sap, the sugars and so forth that were in the leaf before it died. So you need to wait for the plant to extract all those nutrients from the leaf for it to dry out. So that may be a problem. I'll tell you what you can use. Find grasses. A lot of grasses grow in the desert. All kinds of grasses. Pick them when they're dead and dried. They'll be absolutely perfect. That'll work perfectly effectively. Any flowers that die. You want to get the dead plants. You can pull the leaves off, shred the leaves, and use those. Any dead plant material, in other words, will work. Probably even dead cactus will work. You want dead organic matter that bacteria and fungus will be able to further break down in order to provide nutrients for microfauna, macrofauna, which then ultimately feed the fish. Can I add leaves from my garden and soak them in chard? You want only those leaves that are dead and brown in the field, not that you've cut down. If you cut down a green plant, and throw it on a compost pile. Once it dries out, you can't use it because it will foul the water. It contains sugars and saps that were in the plant before it dried out. You want it dried out with its roots still attached. In other words, you want plants that die naturally. Those you can use. Where are we? We're got 2 minutes left here. Bass Pro Shops have ponds. Let you extract stuff for your aquarium. Nice. Nice. Sticks and leaves from a pond. Picked up caddisfly larvae. No, they're perfectly healthy. They will not hurt the tank, and they're good food for the fish. Caddisfly larvae will eat macrofauna, but they won't eat baby fish. Well, they maybe eat baby fish if they can catch them, but they will have a hard time doing. They're they microscopically. Yeah, mulberry trees from colorwood. Yep, colorwood, free colorwood. Yeah, any of the colorwood will be good too. Anything that will disintegrate in water that's dead. You want it dead. You want it naturally dead, not cut down dead. Can at least go in with goldfish. Absolutely, they'll chop them up and feed them. They'll be perfect. They're good food for them, and their waste produces nutrients for microfauna, so it's perfect. All right, here we go. Found freshwater isopods in PA. Will they survive in Florida garage temps? They might not. They might not. I've tried that with certain things that just don't survive. Um, if you have a high temperature refrigerator, like 50 to 60 degrees, you can keep in a fridge. You got a little refrigerator, turn it up to 60, then you can keep them in that. Pear tree leaves, perfect. Any fruit tree. Fruit tree, cherry trees, yep. Yeah, I'm waiting for my brother's cherry tree to drop its leaves. We're going to get those. It's loaded. That'll be good. All right, my friends, we are up against the clock here. It's 8 o'clock. Thank you, Cam. Orange tree. Yeah, I don't see why not. Apple tree, certainly. Nice to have you here. Nice to have you guys with us. It's been great fun. We've had a good time. I got off my high horse and we did well. Appreciate you all. Love you all. Check out, we got new video came out on breeding rams. Next one that it's coming out will be it's going to be a takeoff on tonight. It's going to be called Fish Are Not People. That'll be Friday if all things work out the way they're planned. Uh, New video coming out tomorrow on parasites. Parasites on crickets. Worth watching. Teach you a whole new approach to understanding the importance of parasites. Love you all. Bye for now.